What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Cars, Costs, and Technology. Today we're going to be discussing 5 things that you should never do in a Corvette. Now, all these items will be applicable to the C7 Corvette Stingray since we'll be using my car as the example, but most of these will be relevant for some other generations as well, like the C5 and C6 Corvette, so keep that in mind. I'm primarily putting this list together to help those of you that are thinking about purchasing your first Corvette, or maybe you just bought your first Corvette. Hopefully these will help save you some headaches and save you some time down the road. If you own a Corvette, I hope that you haven't had to learn any of these firsthand or learn these the hard way. But let's go ahead and jump in the list, guys. So for number one, forgetting to latch your roof can be a huge problem on a Corvette. Now, for those of you that have driven a Corvette or owned one, you know that most models have a removable roof, which is a really great feature. I even bragged about this feature on the top 5 things I love about this car video, and it can be a lot of fun to remove the top and go cruising, but a lot of people, especially on Corvette forums, have reported forgetting to latch the roof shut when they put it back on. So when you rest it back down, it can lay sort of flush against the weather stripping and look like it's fixed in position, but you have to make sure that you close the latches all the way, otherwise it is not actually fixed all the way to the car. What can happen is, while driving in the car, if the roof is not latched down, the wind can actually catch the lip and pull it off, throw it off into the air. Now, a lot of people have said that when this happens, it can fly way up in the sky and crash down on the road, which obviously can damage the roof itself and could obviously hurt someone behind you or damage their car. And, on top of the roof itself being expensive, this could just cause a lot of damage and be a huge headache. So make sure you latch your roof, guys. Next thing I want to talk about is leaving your key fob in the trunk. Now, this is a huge discussion on a lot of Corvette forums. Apparently, a lot of guys are taking their key fob and putting it in, say, a gym bag, golf bag, backpack, something along those lines, and leaving it in the car. I personally would never do this. I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving the fob in the car, but if for some reason you were wanting to do this, keep in mind that the way that these fobs work with the passive locking system, you will most likely get locked out of the car, since the fob will not be detected in the trunk typically, and it also could even lock even if it does detect the fob. Now, with my car, I did actually test this, and I was still able to get in the car. Somehow the car was still able to detect the fob, but I do recommend, if you were wanting to leave your fob in the trunk, to disable the passive locking system temporarily by opening the door and holding down the unlock button for about 4 seconds. Still wouldn't recommend leaving the fob in the car, but at least that is going to give you peace of mind that the passive locking system isn't turned on. So next thing I want to talk about is using a gas can to add fuel to the car. Now, because of this is primarily for the C7 Corvette, but because the capless fuel refueling system, there is no traditional gas cap that you can remove to stick the nozzle down into the tank. It's actually got these sort of like valve type covers. There's 2 doors, if you will, that protect the tank, and the first one is primarily just for appearances. The main seal comes from the second latch, but what can happen if you're trying to use a traditional gas can or even, say, a bottle of fuel additive, if you stick that in there, you may not be able to reach through both openings to the tank itself. Now, if you were to start pouring in gas or fuel additive before you were able to reach through the second door, it would actually just spill all over the fender, could spill all over your rims, and basically cause a lot of damage to the car. So obviously, if you're wanting to add some fuel to the car or a fuel additive to the car with a can and not using a traditional gas nozzle at a gas station, you have to use the funnel that comes with the Corvette. So this funnel, as funny as it looks, it actually allows you to make it through both of the gates, or the valve, so to speak, and make it to the tank. So make sure that you use this if you want to add some fuel or add a fuel additive to your C7 Corvette. So next thing we're going to talk about is bringing along a large drink for a drive. Now, this is something that is not special to the C7 Corvette. A lot of Corvette owners have complained about this for a while now, but the cup holders are not so great. They're pretty shallow. There's only 2 of them. They're somewhat small. Now, for me personally, it's not a big deal. I don't bring drinks along with me all that often, but I can imagine, just based on how shallow these are and how loose the drink fits in them, that it could make a pretty big mess. A lot of guys on Corvette forums complain that they've spilled their coffee on themselves, spilled soda on themselves, so make sure if you're going for a drive, especially if you're going to be driving fast, that you do not bring along a large drink, or if you're going to, make sure that you've got one hand on it at most time, because you could end up cleaning up a pretty big mess. You can see even with this water bottle how it just fits really, really loose in there. Obviously, this having a cap on it wouldn't be a big deal if it were to fall over, but you can see where it'd create a pretty big mess if you had a drink that did not have some type of sealable lid on it. So make sure you look out for that, guys. Be careful. I wouldn't want anyone to damage their interior or get burned by hot coffee, so keep that in mind. So next thing we're going to talk about is driving over everyday obstacles at normal speeds. Now this sounds kind of odd, but in a Corvette, with them being as low as they are, you really have to be careful over things that you normally wouldn't think twice about, like curbs, speed bumps, potholes, things of that nature can actually really scrape your car. As you can see here, I scraped in my driveway. Now luckily that's just the front air dam, wouldn't do a whole lot of damage to the car, but like I said, everyday obstacles that are out there in parking lots, in the street, you don't think twice about them in a standard car or a truck, but when you're in a Corvette, you really need to be careful, make sure that you don't hit them too fast because you could damage the front end. Also, with a very low profile and stiff sidewall tires, you could definitely not only jar yourself and the whole car, but do some damage to your wheels and your suspension by hitting potholes too hard. So you want to make sure to kind of slow down a little bit and hit those bumps appropriately. Even if it's not fun, it's worth it to protect the car. So now that we've talked about, some things that you should never do in a Corvette, kind of negative things, let's move on to some more positive talk. So I want to share some more photos of subscribers' cars with you guys. I did this in my last video, really enjoyed it. So I've actually heard from a bunch of you since then and wanted to share a few more pictures. So Mr. Shamlan reached out to me on Instagram with some really awesome pictures of his C7 Corvette as well as his BMW M4. So he's a subscriber of the channel and watching all the way from Dubai. Really appreciate him reaching out to me. Really beautiful C7 Corvette. Like I said, beautiful M4 as well. Really appreciate you reaching out to me, man. Thanks for sharing the photos. Definitely check him out on Instagram. His info will be in the description. Next, we've got Red Vet Italia on Instagram. I've had multiple conversations with him. Really cool guy. Check out his drawings and his C6 Corvette on his Instagram. His info will be in the description as well. Next, we've got the tndeere channel here on YouTube. His son actually just picked up this really clean C6 Corvette, which looks really nice. Hopefully, we'll have some videos uploaded of that soon. Definitely check him out on YouTube. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate all of you that send those photos to me. I enjoy looking at them and posting them on my videos. Definitely send me some at the info in the description if you'd like to be featured on a video. But I appreciate you watching, guys. Have a great day. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks.